If you follow my stories at all, like all of my shop updates, you would have heard that my little 7¼ inch circular saw stripped out the gearbox. I wanted to try and get the same one because I was used to it. It wasn't available. There was only a lower wattage version. That's a 1500 watt, and they only had 1200 watt. Shopped around a little bit, not a lot, because I really wanted. I've got a job that I'm doing, so I needed something soon. So I picked up this Makita 7¼ inch. It's basically it's an 1800 watt, and it's basically I would call it the little brother of my table saw, which was a 2000 watt. I've had that since about 2001. It died at one point, which is why I bought that, but it turned out to just be the brushes and the commutator was all dirty. Once I cleaned it all up, it worked fine. So I believe this one's going to last a good chance time. I've been a good boy. I haven't opened it yet at all. So they just tiny little zip tie on where you might put a tiny padlock or something, which seems a bit stupid because padlock to pick it up all the way. Nice metal clips on the box, and the standard fare on the inside. You got your your instructions and your warranty booklet. It's there. Right. There's a place to keep spare blades and a little bit that basically keeps it up out of the way. That's a nice touch. If you're going to keep it in here, like if you're a trader on a run and this was in the back of your truck or something like that, it's obviously going to go back and forth in your bag, in the box. Now see, this one came in a cardboard box. It pretty much looks like, very much like my other saw. So it's got your adjustable angle plate for doing miter cuts and that sort of stuff, for tilting the blade, like that. Yeah. That's a nice lock on it. Same with the depth gauge. Nice thumb. That's a lot better than the other one I've got. The other one's like a little twist thing, so you've got to twist it up tight. Having that, if you have someone who's got arthritis, that's brilliant because that's heaps easy to use. It still has a thumb screw bit for your ripping guide. So one thing I want to say about ripping guides, notice these two little holes here. Like, for accuracy, a fence that wide isn't really that good. What I did with my old one was do that. So I basically screw it on a longer piece of wood and it gives you a much better ripping fence. So this one was for my bigger saw. If you're trying to get some really accurate cuts with these sort of things, stick a big fence on there. It doesn't need to be as big as that, just a thin piece of wood that's long. If I'm doing long ripping though, I tend to have a big wooden track. I can't remember what the other name of them is. Name that I've heard people in the US say. Something like a, complete metal bracelet. Alright, so like all my tools, this will probably sit in the sustainer for a little while. I don't think it's going to fit in any of my cabinets. This is a small workshop. So your depth adjustment, I noticed it's got a little gauge on the back there. So as you're adjusting that, I'm going to assume that these are in millimeters or centimeters. So 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, 3 centimeter, 4 centimeter. So you can get it fairly accurately there. And that means that your The deepest depth of cut is about 85mm on this, so it's perfect for what I bought it for, because I've got 2-inch hardwood sleepers that I want to go through. Now, they did have the 2000 watter, which is like the old saw that I bought, which was the very first power saw I bought. And I remember one of my complaints about that was it was so heavy. It was definitely a two-handed job. This thing, that's not going to wear you out doing that. All right. There's something that, there's no lock, like a safety lock on the trigger. One thing that I really loved about the AEG saw was that you couldn't pull the trigger unless your thumb put that in as well. It was like a lock. And that's a good safety feature for when you're sort of just carrying a saw around, because the last thing you want to do is accidentally turn the saw on while you're holding it. Not that you should get cut, because you'll always have this down while you're carrying it around. You're not going to lift that up and out of the way. Good spindle lock lever here for changing the blade out. I couldn't see a spanner anywhere, but then I noticed that, as well as being a nut, it has a hex head in it. And the hex wrench is stored in the handle, much like the Makita jigsaw that I've got. That's good, because it means that your tooling is handy. You don't have to go, I'm going to change the blade, I've got to hunt for a saw and a spanner. It's a very thin curved blade, which is going to be good for the hardwood. 1.8mm blade. I'll convert that, put it on screen. 185mm 7¼ inch diameter blade. It's got a 20mm bore for the center, which is good news because the blades from the old saw are 20mm bores as well, so it means I don't have to go out and buy a whole stack of new blades. So I've got some lying around. I've got a lot of cutting to do. I'm going to put it to action, and we'll see how this thing goes. But I've got pretty good expectations for it. Almost forgot. It also comes with a adapter to go onto the outlet port, because the Makitas have a fairly good outlet port which will fire the dust out of that spot when it's cutting. My 2000 watt one does the same thing. This one came with a little adapter to go onto a shop vac. So that's a nice thing to have, aimed at the conscientious tradie. I'm going to be cutting inside somebody's house or on their yard. You're having a shop vac going. That's a good inclusion. I'm going to say that's a good first test. Really clean cut, especially with a thin blade. It worked really well. Doesn't kick when it starts too. That was one complaint I had of that AEG saw. Whenever it would start up, it would kick so much that it would move on your timber when you were just getting yourself lined up. Even when you were using it on a track that I'd made, it would kick, and yeah, that doesn't kick. It starts up just a little bit more carefully. There was one feature on it that I didn't notice when I was showing this. It's got a little dial just here, and that allows you to, it was like that when I got it. You unlock, tilt, and that'll allow you to take it to the full angle. That's 55. Now it's set to 45, and it stops and locks. Now it's set to 22.5, and it locks. That's brilliant. There's a gauge on there and a little line for setting all your angles. Just having that positive lock to automatically get it to you, to slide it and lock it. That's a really good feature for something that I know that a lot of roofers and that sort of stuff are using cordless tools now, and I don't know whether anything has it like that. But if you're a builder and you'd bought one of these for your smaller job site saw, being able to cut these like 22.5 is a fairly common angle for roofing when you're cutting all your framing and that sort of stuff for roofing. So I think that's brilliant. I only noticed that when I went out there and was getting myself set up, and I went, hey, look at that. I guess that's my first impressions. The Makita 5007N, 185mm or 7¼ inch circular saw, powered, 1800 watt. It certainly felt like 1800 watt going through that hardwood. That was as clean as. And I don't know whether it was the blade when I was doing my last lot of cutting with that, but I don't think I'd done a great deal of cutting before. But that was bogging down just a little bit going through. Then again, the blade might have been just a little bit thicker too. Yeah, it was. So that one's a 1.8mm thick. That's only a very, very thin kerf. Really good for going through hardwood. The AEG blades that it came with, and I've still got one of the originals because I've only ever used the one blade on it. It's 2.2, so slightly thicker, means that it doesn't flex as much. But that was a nice clean cut. Looked at the cut edges of the timber. It's a really nice clean cut. In fact, I'll take you out and show you that. Here's those cut edges. So that was my first one, very first cut. A little bit of hesitation there, so I was getting a little bit of a wobble right there. Second cut, nice and clean. This one, obviously settled, hesitated a little bit. This is a really dense hardwood, probably Australian Sydney blue gum or something like that. And then this one, nice clean cut. Again, a little bit of an edging on the start of all my cuts, where you're first entering the timber, but the rest of it, not a whole bunch of tear out. Yeah, one of my first reviews. I'm going to be brutally honest with anything like this because I paid for it. But first impressions, really nice clean cut. Good weight, good balance. Wasn't too heavy to manhandle around. The starting of it, there was no massive kick. That was really cool. The dials and that sort of stuff. The action of the blade guard was really smooth. It didn't get in the way of doing my cuts. First impressions are it gets a thumbs up, that's for sure. I've got another 7 of those sleepers to cut. We'll see how it's cutting by the end of that 7th one. They're Sydney hardwoods. They're very dense timbers, hard as anything to drill through. So they cut really well. I better get back to work. Thanks for watching.